I, like most of you, have been unable to escape the coronavirus pandemonium. And that's not for lack of trying. Don't get me wrong. I value being informed, especially about a possible international crisis. But then again, something occurred to me while I was watching the wall-to-wall coronavirus COVID-19 coverage. This is nothing new. And yet I suppose at the same time, totally new. You can trace the development of modern society through a series of panics and plagues, real threats and fallacious worries, and nearly every time and in every one of those incidents, there is a group of people who are left wondering if the whole of society forgot that not too distant past. Historians, skeptics, medical professionals, contrarians, conspiracy theorists, intellectuals, and a concerned public are left to pick up the pieces. There is something to be said for information readily available, but causing a panic due to unvetted information is something else entirely. The options are limitless in either two of the aforementioned categories, ready information and unvetted hearsay. One could pull up a carefully monitored coronavirus resource center, complete with maps and statistics which are readily available, free of charge, and vetted by premier centers of research and learning. I'll link one in the episode's description for you to peruse if you do so choose. However, in less than 280 characters, someone could alter the public's perception to deleterious effect. Arguments have been made on all sides of the issue. Passions galore, panic, fear, disgust, xenophobia, complacency, acceptance, apathy, they are all on display and all have their proponents. There are individuals who draw comparisons to past pandemics and panics, experts who warn of the disease's exponential growth, and those individuals who clear out grocery stores or double-check the supplies in their bunkers. I likely fall in the former half than the latter, but I do notice the shortcomings in all of those, and really I notice the shortcomings present in most of the arguments I've come across around the coronavirus. And don't get me wrong, I've taken some of these arguments and have run with them. I've argued that comparisons can be drawn between this novel coronavirus and the SARS outbreak of 2002 and 3. SARS, by the way, was a coronavirus. It saw 8,098 reported cases and 774 deaths. That's a smaller overall pool of infected individuals, but a much higher death rate. And if you were alive for that, you will recall the wall-to-wall coverage when that happened. I mean, it was so popular it made a Kanye West lyric. It's not that the course of those two diseases, COVID-19 and SARS, are similar. The world is much different now than it was 18 years ago, but the media hype surrounding both is all too relatable. You also had the 2014 Ebola outbreak, which claimed the lives of 11,325 people out of a total of 28,625 cases. Comparisons abound between the media cycles around MERS and the swine flu, which was an H1N1 virus, same as the 1918 Spanish flu, which infected some 500 million people worldwide, or 1/3 of the population. Now, the 1918 Spanish flu, of course, is in the aftermath of World War I, when Europe's infrastructure is, weakened to a great deal. And these diseases and the world they play out in and spread through, they've never been the same. And while what I just did by listing, air quotes you can't see, comparable pandemics is a traditional exercise in dispelling pandemic panic, I would again be remiss not to admit that this current virus is none of these from the past, and therefore any serious correlation would be futile. Yes, the media cycles run similarly, worrying certain suggestible people to apocalyptic fervor. And yes, there have been other coronaviruses in the past. But this is a novel or new virus. I understand that applying what had passed to what is new is not always the strongest line of reasoning, but then again, I suppose this Footnotes episode was not meant to serve as another argument or line of reasoning, but to provide some historical context. And the context is, there have been pandemics and plagues, survivors and victims. Therefore, this pandemic, in that respect, is nothing new. And whether that comforts you, worries you, or does absolutely nothing for you, it felt like an appropriate moment in time to place this virus in its proper context with the other plagues and panics that have come before. This is a Footnotes episode. It's almost a diatribe, a rant, if you will, a monologue. It's not a full-blown episode. It's not as heavily researched as I'm sure many coronavirus podcasts will be in the following weeks and months and years. But again, I felt like it was appropriate to mention that no moment in history is exactly like this moment in time. The old line about those who don't learn from the past being doomed to repeat it is, to use a technical term, bullshit. The idea that time is a river and you can never step in the same one twice is likely the more apt cliche, for there is a touch more complexity and ambiguity in that statement. Yes, the river or time or society is always changing, but as is true with all three, there are certain emerging themes. It's still a river. It's all still Earth, and we're all still people. And if you believe Jung or Joseph Campbell, that pretty much means on some deeper, primordial level, we're all cut from the same cloth. So be it COVID-19, MERS, Ebola, the bubonic plague, AIDS, SARS, the swine, bird, or Spanish flu, we get sick, we panic. We react too quickly, not quickly enough, or sometimes not at all. It's human nature. It's all panics and plagues. I never said I had all the answers, just a few facts. I'm Thomas Thompson, and this has been Dirty History. And if you like what you heard here, and if you value this show as an educational resource, please consider passing it on to another person. Unlike many podcasts today, Dirty History isn't backed by a major organization or sponsor. The only way we can spread is by word of mouth. That said, please consider subscribing and leaving a review on the platform that you get this show on, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you get the show. Please subscribe and review. This simple act, 3-4 minutes of your time, will help the show more than any dollar amount could. So once again, I'm not asking you to buy anything. I'm not asking you to spend your money. I'm just asking that wherever you get Dirty History, please subscribe to the show, like the show, review the show. I mean, tell a friend if you think they will enjoy the show about it. Again, thank you. This would not be possible without any of you, and I'll be coming at you soon with a full-length episode. Good night, and as the man said, good luck.